Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada y estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. You're listening to Together We Can. My name is Caprice Taylor here on 103.5 FM, live from my Zoom account in New Haven. And not too far from us, based in Norwalk, we have two very special guests with us from an organization that, frankly, everyone should know of their existence. And I do hope that after listening to today's show, you get to share this video from our Facebook page in La Voz Hispana de Connecticut, and tell people what you heard, because I think it's very important. Here we celebrate co-creators of a kinder and more just world. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome the founder of PEHT, P-E-H-T, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elizabeth, and your colleague, Kayla Ponder. Quisiera dar la bienvenida a Elizabeth Bubel. Is it Bubel?
It's pronounced Bobel, but that's,
Elizabeth Bobel, desde la ciudad de Connecticut, Norwalk, y su compañera de trabajo, Kayla Ponder. Elizabeth es la fundadora de una organización que se llama PEHT. Es la misma pronunciación de mascota en inglés. Y la organización se enfoca en seres humanos utilizando cachorros que están apoyando a la sanación de los corazones de seres humanos en situaciones muy graves. La organización de ellas da esperanza a muchas personas. And so, without further ado, welcome Elizabeth and Kayla.
Thank you, Caprice. Thank you for having us.
And so, can you share a little bit about your organization?
Yes. So PEHT, P-E-H-T, stands for the Partnership to End Human Trafficking. And we are a holistic anti-trafficking organization. We're actually based in Bridgeport, Connecticut, but we serve all of Connecticut and beyond. So that's just kind of where we're headquartered, but we serve, the entire state of Connecticut, in additionally the I-95 corridor and nationally. So we offer a holistic long-term residential program for survivors of human trafficking. Predominantly right now, adult women who come to us who have been victimized by this atrocious, heinous crime. And we offer up to a 24-month free housing and healthcare, trauma-informed mental health care, medical care, education, access to education, really kind of very holistically individualized care for women that have come to us out of trafficking, to offer the space and the time that they need to heal from what is just, unimaginable exploitation and trauma. And that's really why we exist. And we also have a social enterprise, which is a business that's attached to our organization, which is a pet retail company that manufactures pet products manufactured by the women that we serve, so that in addition to the therapeutic care that they receive from us, they also have an ability to have job training, make money, and ultimately achieve economic independence, because that is a key piece of their sustainable recovery, is being able to ultimately be independent. We don't want women to come and just receive the care. We want them to know that they have an opportunity to make money and move on and live independently. So that's in a nutshell who we are and what we do. I founded the organization in 2016. But probably like many of your viewers and listeners, most people don't really realize that this goes on in this country. You know, a lot of people have the misconception that human trafficking and sex trafficking in particular, which is what we focus on, happens in faraway places, developing countries, but not sort of in Norwalk, Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut, New Haven. But it really is happening at an alarming rate right here in the United States and right here in our own backyard in Connecticut. And when I learned that was sort of a fact and a reality that I couldn't really live with without doing something. So I started the organization with a group of like-minded individuals who share my passion. And it took a good 2.5 years of educating the community and sort of getting out there and hosting events to sort of get people to understand that was actually happening, which was the first task that we had. And then in 2020, we'd raised enough funds and we'd gotten enough exposure out in the community that we were able to actually purchase a home so that we could open our doors. And we opened our doors in January of 2021 and welcomed our first survivors.
Incredible. Well, thank you. Here in Together We Can, we celebrate co-creators of a kinder and more just world. And thank you so much for existing. And thank you for Pet. Thank you so much. Now I'll translate into Spanish. Aquí tenemos el gran placer en poder celebrar hoy seres humanos que están creando un mundo más gentil y más justo, y hoy podemos celebrar la organización que se llama PET, P-E-H-T. En realidad están ubicados en Bridgeport, pero hacen trabajo alrededor de Connecticut y también por todos los Estados Unidos. Ellos fueron creados porque la fundadora Elizabeth se enteró de que la situación de tráfico del ser humano no solamente ocurre fuera del país de los Estados Unidos, pero en nuestro vecindario. Por todas partes de Connecticut, inclusive en Greenwich, en Norwalk y New Haven, hay casos de seres humanos en situaciones muy graves, terribles, porque son traficados. Y ellos la organización PET rinde servicios para darle tiempo al ser humano, muchas veces es una mujer, para poder sanarse físicamente, mentalmente. Brindan servicios comprensivos para apoyar al ser humano completo. 24 meses ofrecen de vivienda económica donde vivir, a un lugar salvo y sano, y también servicios de asistencia mental, reconociendo cualquier tipo de servicio que brindan. Reconocen cómo trabajar cuando existe trauma, porque la situación de ser traficado como un ser humano es muy traumático, y desean apoyar a que ellos tengan éxito después de que pasen con ellos unos 24 meses, y a largo plazo están mano a mano con los seres humanos que están saliendo de la situación de tráfico de ser humano. También proveen educación, también ayudan en poder saber cómo tener su propio negocio. La organización trabaja profundamente con mascotas, y las mujeres crean productos para la venta para las mascotas en los hogares. Muchos seres humanos, especialmente aquí en Connecticut y por todos los Estados Unidos, aman sus mascotas como si fueran familia. Y Elizabeth dice que es importante también reconocer que los seres humanos merecemos también ese tipo de amor que uno brinda a su mascota. Hay seres humanos que merecen también recibir ese amor del prójimo. Y en saber en cómo vender productos, tener su negocio, apoyar a las personas que estuvieron en esa situación tan grave para poder tener independencia económica. Esa independencia económica es clave para la recuperación de sus vidas. Y el dinero, cómo manejarlo, cómo adquirirlo detrás de un negocio, ayuda mucho. La organización en 2016 tuvo la idea, Elizabeth, en crear esta organización y en 2020 lograron conseguir suficientes fondos para abrir las puertas a un hogar que es seguro y sano para los quienes tienen que escapar situaciones dramáticas como es el tráfico de ser humano. Y es bien importante que la gente sepa que el tráfico de ser humano está pasando aquí precisamente en Connecticut, no solamente en las afueras, y ellos también tienen, implementan programación apoyando a nivel nacional, internacional también. What a wonderful, wonderful passion project, right? To have a home where you opened up the doors and you had the ability to say to a human being in 2021, you're safe here tonight. You can really sleep and rest. You're safe here. You're not alone. We're offering you these supports. Right before the show started, you mentioned, Elizabeth, that it's really important that folks understand it's the courage and the fortitude that the human beings have to come through on the other side, outside of being sex trafficked. And can you share a little bit more about the journey that you support people in?
Sure. Well, every journey is very unique and individualized, which is, part of why we design the program around, we don't have a prescription, every single individual that comes to us has their own story and their own journey, and what's happened to them is very unique. And so the walking alongside them, it has to be very unique and has to be tailored to that person and what their strengths are and what their needs are, and what's happened to them does not define them. And so that's really what we're there for, is to support and walk alongside. And as you said, being able to say to somebody, tonight you're safe. What we say to them is, you're safe for 2 years. You have a long time, because many programs can be, homeless shelters or shelter programs or addiction programs have a time frame. Typically, it'll be 30 days, or it'll be, a limited amount of time, which when you've gone through the unimaginable trauma that these individuals have gone through, time is really important. You need time where you don't have anything, you're not worried about where you're going to sleep. You're not worried about what's going to happen in 30 days. You're not worried about what's going to happen in 60 days. You have time to just focus on yourself, focus on your healing, get what you need, and we're there to facilitate that. But it's the courage to get there, which is what amazes me, because I can't imagine going through what many of the women that I've met have gone through. To me, it's just unimaginable. So I'm in awe of their courage. I'm in awe of their strength. I'm in awe that they get up in the morning and do what they need to do. It's really extraordinary. So the human spirit is unextinguishable, and I'm always given. It just gives me such hope to see, what people can overcome. If given time and space to heal. Given a time to tell their own story, if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. It just brings so much hope and joy to me to be able to share their journey, in whatever way I can. But as I said, every journey is very different. Every recovery is very different, and some women don't make it. Sometimes they're not ready. They'll come to us and they'll start off, but maybe they're just, they just haven't had it. It just maybe not the right time. But we hope that either they'll find another organization or they'll come back. But it is important that people understand this kind of trauma, which is very different than someone who is addicted or homeless, which is traumatic in and of itself. But once you've gone through being exploited in this way, the vulnerability is just it's unique, and it really requires a unique program, which is what we are. We're a unique program.
Thank you so much. Elizabeth, ella dice de que cuando ella empezó este programa fue porque cuando supo la realidad de personas que son traficadas y que ocurre acá en Connecticut, tenía que hacer algo y se unió con un grupo de personas con la misma pasión y misión y fundaron esta organización. Y le pregunté si podía explicar un poco el camino de salvación, de sanación de las mujeres. Y ella explica de que cada caso es diferente y no hay una fórmula porque hay que crear los pasos, el apoyo específicamente para las necesidades y a dónde están cada persona. Y es algo de que requiere tiempo. Hay programas que dan 30 días, ofrecen 30 días de apoyo y eso no es suficiente para poder cambiar la vida y tener una oportunidad en la vida que requiere en la situación de tráfico de ser humano, el nivel de trauma, las dificultades es muy diferente de tener un programa para personas desamparadas o para personas con adicciones. El trauma de ser traficado como un ser humano es tan fuerte. Entonces es bien importante reconocer las habilidades que cada ser humano tiene para el plan de cada caso. Y ella siempre está inspirada y admirada con el nivel de coraje, el nivel de fortaleza que cada persona tiene. Cada vez que la mujer decide despertarse, salirse de la cama, ahí para poder tener ese nivel de fortaleza, ella se queda admirando la fortaleza que ha podido ver de las personas que van en el programa. Y sin duda sabe que los seres humanos, cuando son proveados con los recursos, las oportunidades, pueden cambiar sus vidas y no van a dejar tan fácil a que otra gente apaguen su luz. Se queda admirada a lo que han logrado las mujeres detrás de este programa. Y algunos puede ser que no están listos o listas para salirse del problema, o puede ser que van a buscar otra organización, otros tipos de servicio. Cada trauma es diferente y es importante reconocer qué es lo que el individuo necesita. And so, Kayla, you've been with Pet for how long?
A few months now. I'm fairly new.
And so, what have you found? What lesson have you learned that's inspirational in working with these courageous human beings?
Well, I've always had a passion for helping those in need and lending a helping hand. So working at Pet has definitely put me in a position to do so. For example, some women that start working at the shop, because I manage a pet store, some women that come start working with us are afraid and timid and very anxious and shy, and they can't even look you directly in your eyes. And just being able to see growth in the short amount of time that I started working at Pet is very humbling, and it's a great experience to be a part of the company because the women just they make me feel empowered. And, just being able to see them grow, going to pop-up events and having them speak to customers and promote the business, it gives me joy and happiness.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for saying that, where you could actually see the journey, the personal journeys that individuals are in, and opening up to be able to look at the customers in the eye. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to witness, that transformation that individuals are having. Thank you for sharing that, Kayla. Le pregunté a Kayla durante el tiempo que está trabajando con Pet, qué es lo que le inspira en sus interacciones con las mujeres. Y ella dice de que ha trabajado más un par de meses y está inspirada, sabiendo de que nomás un par de meses Kayla maneja la tienda de los productos para mascotas, y las mujeres vienen y atienden a los clientes, y al principio muchas de ellas son muy tímidas y bajan los ojos, y de ahí con más confianza, con más tiempo con el programa, se ve que están empezando a hablar con los clientes de una manera con más confianza, y puede ver la fortaleza que tienen las mujeres. Y Kayla dice que ha sido una experiencia que fortalece la humildad en ella, porque ella ha querido siempre apoyar, hacer este mundo mejor. Y en este momento está haciendo eso, apoyando, trabajando al lado con las mujeres en este camino de sanación. Y en inglés, de nuevo, esta organización se llama PET, P-E-H-T. Y en inglés también se deletrea mascota, P-E-A, quiero ver, P-E-T, P-E-T, se deletrea mascota en inglés. Entonces ellos están jugando con las letras en inglés, denotando de que es una organización para parar el tráfico de ser humano, y en el centro hay animales, hay el concepto de mascota. Can you share a little bit with me how we came up with PET, P-E-T, to be part of the healing of humanity? Because I have found pets to be very powerful healers. Can you share a little bit about this? I think it is so wise. I just want to say that there's deep wisdom in this.
Sure. So we are modeled after an organization that's in Nashville, Tennessee, called Whistle Farms, which has a social enterprise, a business also attached to their therapeutic program. And they manufacture healing oils and candles and lotions, sort of body products for women. And I was so intrigued by their model because of this extension, not just the therapeutic piece, but also the economic empowerment piece. And so I didn't want to just, as a founder, I didn't want to just mimic what they were doing and create a business that was the same. So I just really, I love animals. I mean, I have, 4 dogs and 2 cats, and I have so many animals, and I love animals. And so I did some economic, business research to understand the industry itself. And it's an enormous industry, $68 billion business is the pet retail business. So I thought that would be
how much again?
$68 billion in the sort of pet industry overall. And it's growing, it's demographically, 12-year-olds have pets and 92-year-olds have pets. So it's men and women, demographically, it's a great industry and it's growing. And then just sort of from as you were pointing out, the love that we experience if we are pet lovers, that we feel that they give us, and the healing that they provide us, there's nothing really like it. If you're, some people don't respond to animals, but I certainly do, and my family does. And the healing properties that these animals have for so many people is truly remarkable. So I thought that makes sense, and we make many products. We make handmade leashes for dogs that are handmade and hand designed by the women in our program. We make an all-natural tick repellent. We make essential oil candles so that, for your home, if you have dogs and you want to sort of have a nice scent in your home, you have that. And we're expanding every day. We have a room spray. We have a dog's conditioner spray, for dogs. So we're developing products all the time, and we really want the women in our program to develop the products. That's part of the creativity that they bring to the table. We also have quite a few artists in residence. We've discovered that the women that just coincidentally that we serve happen to be amazing artists. So we want to encourage that. So they paint, they use different mediums, they draw, they paint. And because they just have that talent, I would never say, well, that's not a pet product, so we're not going to sell it. We want to encourage based on what their skill set is and what their talents are. We want to encourage all of those. So we've expanded into, we do some home products as well. We've used their art to create a coffee mug. We've used their art to create a dog bowl, that incorporates their art that we've screened on there. And then we have apparel that features their artwork and features our logo. So it's a wide, it's a breadth of product, and we hope that people will be encouraged to purchase the product, because that is a way to not only get the word out about this issue, but also to support what they do, because it's so meaningful to them that people want to buy their products that they've designed, that they've made. It's empowering. As Kayla was saying, it's really empowering for somebody who may never have had a job, who may never have graduated high school, who may never have worked and received a paycheck because of the victimization that started so young. So to know that they're actually making money, that we pay, that once they are ready, they come to our program, and within 6 months, if they're ready to go to work, they'll come to the pet shop and they'll work however many hours they can, and they receive a paycheck, and they have a savings program. If they're not ready, we don't pressure them to do that until they are ready. But there's nothing really more empowering than a paycheck. I mean, it's important. It's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of this idea of pets and the healing properties that they have that inspired it. But we don't limit it to that either. We have lots of other products as well. So.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'll translate. Le pregunté a Elizabeth, ¿cuál fue la inspiración de hablar sobre el tema de mascotas con apoyando a seres humanos a que se salgan del tráfico de ser humano? Y ella dice de que sí, los animales, ella tiene 4 cachorros en la casa y 2 gatos, su familia ama los animales, hay mucha gente que quiere mucho a mascotas, y es una industria de $68 billones. ¿Escucharon bien? $68 billones. Y de ahí se puso a pensar, hay niños de 12 años que tienen mascota, viejitas, personas ancianas de 92 años que tienen mascota, y es una manera de utilizar las bendiciones que brindan los mascotas para sanación, para apoyar a las mujeres y los hombres también que son víctimas de tráfico de ser humano, que se sanen. Y tienen una tienda, y 6 meses de estar con el programa, si las personas están listos para trabajar en la tienda, de ahí pueden ganar un horario, un cheque, y también pueden abrir una cuenta de ahorros si quieren. Y es tan impactante en la vida de uno en tener un cheque, en tener un saldo. Y hay muchas personas que, por la manera en que el tráfico de ser humano funciona, son parte de ese sistema abusivo en una edad temprana, que muchas ni han podido terminar la escuela secundaria y ellos apoyan en la educación de ellos también. Entonces, también venden productos para mascotas creadas por las mujeres, correas para los mascotas, repelente contra garrapatas, diferentes productos, inclusivo de hogar, taza de café con la arte creada por una de las mujeres, diferentes productos para el hogar, porque reconocieron, y Elizabeth dice, es extraordinario la cantidad de mujeres que están con nosotras que son artistas, tienen un talento, aunque no era directamente formando productos para mascotas, el nivel de talento artístico teníamos que también apoyarlas en eso y crear productos, muchos de ellos productos de hogar, para poder también celebrar el talento artístico que tienen. Muchos de ellas saben cómo pintar, así son artistas. And so for us who are listening and would love to support the mission and also get quality artistic products, how can we go about finding out how to purchase this?
You can go on the online store, www.pet.org. We have an Instagram. It's PEHT. And you can come to the store. Our address is 1001 Main Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Suite 17.
Kayla, what are the hours? What days are we open and what are the hours?
Yes, we're open Tuesday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Pues están abiertos lunes a jueves 9 a 4. Y aquí, para los que nos están viendo el video, introduzco a Tug. Tug became part of our family 2 years ago. He's 7. Yep. Thank you, Tug.
Does he have one of our leashes? If not, we need to get one.
I need to get a leash from Pet for him because he is healing magic. He helped my partner's grand uncle transition. So he was in hospice with him for about 2 years. And so when he transitioned, he then went to live with family and then in New York and then landed with us because he was our only focus. He didn't have to share his love amongst many other pets. and they're heart openers. I think the heart magic, they really allow for, if humans didn't trust other humans because of how other humans showed up in their lives, they are safe to love. All they do is show up with love. And so I applaud you in giving us, the broader community, an opportunity to show up with love with other humans. My coworker said she has this T-shirt that she saw, and I loved it. She said it said, "Humans, be the human that your pet thinks you are." I love that T-shirt. And so, yeah, we need to remember that. And I'm so looking forward to going into your website and seeing what I could find for Tug. And I love the all-natural repellent because that's really important too. Venden también productos naturales contra garrapatas. No sé si ya dije eso. Y es importante también reconocer de que si quieren comprar, quieren apoyar, pueden entrar a la página del internet www.peht.org y también tienen un edificio, la tienda ubicada en Bridgeport, en la calle 1001 Main Street. En inglés, Main es principal. 1001 Main Street and Bridgeport. Now, sex trafficking, a lot of people, some might be hearing this for the first time. And I think that movie, Sound of Freedom, that's in the theaters now, people are starting to recognize, oh, this is actually something that is happening. Modern day slavery is how I believe it to be. And I've actually met, unfortunately, undocumented immigrant women, minor girls who have been sex trafficked. And I see often the deep connection with not having a voice, not being allowed to say, hey, I'm human and I live here, fear of deportation, fear of being returned, deported back home from where you were fleeing, whether it was poverty or people trying to hurt you or trying to abuse you. And because the immigration system is broken, many then can't find support, can't run, they feel, to the police, or get taken advantage of in horrible ways. Like, let me bring you to the US, you'll work with a lovely family, and then before you know it, you are actually sex trafficked. And I was born in Guatemala, raised in New Haven, Connecticut. And then when I would go back home, I would hear horrible stories. When I would go back to visit grandparents or family, I would hear horrible stories. And as long as the immigration system is broken and we're not allowing human beings to travel safely with papers, because it's hard to get papers, it creates an explosion of all the right conditions for sex trafficking, where I heard research that said it is much more lucrative and a much larger market than drugs. We've had a war on drugs, and actually sex trafficking is the shadow business that has been profitable more than drugs. And so you're actually fighting against a huge, powerful, wealthy system. But I also have hope. Today's conversation was path of hope. Oh, the shadow dark business underestimated the heart and compassion of humanity. And so just thank you for all that you're doing, because we can turn this around. And what should regular folks who might not even have thought of this is happening in Connecticut, what could we be looking out for? To know maybe there's someone in distress and I had no idea. What can I do? How can I help?
Well, there's quite a few ways. It's a lot of it, if you're a parent, is just being in communication with your children and knowing who they're talking to. The internet is probably the biggest culprit right now and the biggest issue that we're facing, because it allows traffickers access to our children, which is a really dangerous. That's probably the biggest danger right now, is the growth of the internet and how accessible our young children are. But any kind of inappropriate relationship, it's just really, if you're traveling, it's looking out for it, just, relationships that don't look right. A man traveling with a younger girl, if the girl looks uncomfortable. And there's a national anti-trafficking hotline that is accessible to anybody. If you do see something, it's never a bad idea to report it. But being educated and communicating. And I think the most important thing is parents need to really be aware of what their children are doing online and the relationships that their children have, particularly if you have a child who's vulnerable in terms of depression, anxiety, mental health. The mental health crisis in this country is feeding this industry. As you said, it is the fastest growing illegal industry on the planet. It's second to narcotics, but it will exceed narcotics, like you were pointing out, because it is so profitable because a woman can be sold over and over, whereas, a drug can only be sold once. So that is just the sad reality of this atrocious, heinous crime. So it is growing, sadly. But I agree with you in terms of this idea of hope, because human beings can be educated. And that's part of our, we have a 3-pronged strategy: educate, embrace, empower. And the education is critical. The embrace is the program that we have, the residential program, the therapeutic care. The empower is the pet shop and the job training that we do in-house to support survivors so they can become economically independent. But the education is key. And so the more we can educate ourselves, The Sound of Freedom is a great film. It doesn't touch upon what happens in this country, which is one of the things that we need, that at PET we're working in this country. And so, but it's a wonderful movie about what happens, in the international sex trade. But we also need to be aware that it's happening right here in this country. And it's really being educated and educating those around us and having a voice and teaching, I hate to say it, but teaching men that women are not for sale, because predominantly, yes, men are trafficked, but it's the industry is really exploiting women and young girls. And, I went into this because I understood that people can be educated. They can change. We don't smoke anymore like we used to. I mean, my parents smoked, and smoking kind of went up because we educated people about lung cancer. And my parents never wore a seatbelt. I didn't even wear a seatbelt. Everybody wears a seatbelt now because we were educated to wear seatbelts, right? So we can change behavior. And that's what gives me hope, is that we can teach young boys, because boys are exposed now to pornography at 8 years old. So if we can educate, the society that women are not for exploitation, sex is not a product, there's human dignity and we need to respect it. So to me, that's the hope. We can change behavior. And if we can cut off demand, then then the whole industry goes away, right? Because it is about demand. So if we could teach people that this isn't, human beings are not for sale, then human beings won't be for sale. Mm-hmm. That's where I put my hope, is in education.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Ella dice de que ella tiene esperanza utilizando la estrategia de educación, que lamentablemente hay una demanda. Y sí, es cierto que la venta de narcóticos hace mucho dinero, pero la industria de tráfico de ser humano está aumentando y va a ser más dinero en esa industria, porque lamentablemente se usa la droga y ya no hay, pero se puede vender y revender varias veces a un ser humano, y muchas veces son mujeres, son niñas. Para la comunidad, para los que nos están escuchando, tienen que tomar en cuenta de que la educación es poderosa. Uno tiene que vigilar qué es lo que los hijos están haciendo en las redes sociales, en el internet. Ahora por las condiciones que apoyan la explotación de niños, incluye, hay muchos niños sufriendo de depresión, situaciones mentales, la salud mental, y eso ayuda a adultos a explotarlos y mantener clientes, una relación con los hijos para de ahí explotarlos. Y es bien importante que los padres estén vigilando qué es lo que los hijos están haciendo en el internet. Y es importante tener conversaciones con sus hijos para que sean así con precaución, para que tomen precaución con gente extraña. El peligro es alto en este país y mucha gente piensa que no existe peligro, pero sí hay situaciones peligrosas aquí en este país. Muchas veces, lamentablemente, son las niñas que están vendiendo, y es importante con los niños de una edad temprana, porque ya a los 8 años de edad aquí en este país están expuestos a pornografía. Y es importante tener conversaciones con los niños que las mujeres, las niñas, no son producto, no se pueden vender. Y es importante cambiar, educar a la comunidad, igual como se educó que antes era aceptable fumar. Ya no. Antes la gente podía ir en el auto sin cinturón de seguro. Ya no. Ahora necesita uno tener cinturón de seguro. Ya se sabe que fumar es malo para la salud de la familia y de uno mismo también. Y también se puede educar de que las mujeres no son por venta. Y ahí es donde Elizabeth dice, ahí yo tengo confianza y fe que vamos a poder superar esta situación. And so we have just a few minutes left. Any final messages you'd like to share with the community and our listeners?
I would like to say that PET is a mission with a business, and not a business with a mission. And I think that's very important for the general public to know.
Kayla dice, es bien importante reconocer que PET es una organización con una misión y que tiene un negocio, no un negocio con una misión. Primero viene la misión y el negocio apoya esa misión. Thank you for that distinction, because too often we see now as a selling point for products, oh, and we give to save trees, oh, we give to save lives, and it might be 1% of whatever it is that they're doing. You're saying, no, we are focused on the mission, and the business is just a means to support our mission. We're not saying this just to sell our products.
Exactly.
So thank you for that. And Elizabeth, any final words?
Just thank you so much for giving us this platform to reach people and to educate people, because as I had said, education is such a key factor. And, people can help by volunteering. They can help by engaging in the conversation. They can help by buying the products and supporting the women and their creativity and their work and their passion. And as Kayla said, their healing is happening as they create these products and as they sell these products, and they learn each day how to, exercise their creativity and build this business. But it's really about their healing, that's the most important part of this whole mission. So anything, we call ourselves, it's Partnership to End Human Trafficking, because I believe that partnership is how we can address this issue. It takes a village, and unless the whole world community comes together and humanity comes together and says, no, this can't happen, then it will not happen. But, we can't do it as an individual organization. We have to partner with, other organizations and other people and the women themselves and people like you who are giving a voice to the voiceless, which we deeply appreciate. That's how we will end this atrocity.
Elizabeth dice, es bien importante reconocer detrás de la educación podemos parar esa situación tan grave del tráfico de ser humano y en educarnos. Y cada vez que ustedes compran, apoyan, están apoyando a las mujeres que se están sanando, están cambiando sus vidas detrás de la compra de nuestros productos. Y también antes, Elizabeth compartió, si uno ve algo que no anda bien, un adulto, un hombre con una niña, que a saber cómo es que ellos tal vez ni son familiares, si algo no anda bien, deben de hablar con las autoridades. Si están en las dudas, deben de decir algo, porque uno nunca sabe. And I do want to put in a plug, which is VAWA, Violence Against Women Act. For folks who are listening, VAWA immigration policy for women who are victims of violence. Sex trafficking is one of the most ultimate violent acts that we face on the planet right now. And in the United States, VAWA exists. If a woman is a victim, she may not have U.S. immigration papers, in other words, undocumented or whatever immigration status, they can go to the police and be protected against deportation. VAWA was taken away under the previous administration, Trump administration, but it is back so that women have a tool to fight for their lives, and they do not have to fear deportation. And so often there are immigrant rights groups out there that can get you to a lawyer that would fight your case for VAWA. And it's also a possible pathway for legal citizenship. So it is working in conjunction with the police. No one can just make up the lie. You actually have to go to an authority, and then you are safe from deportation and further exploitation, and file a case. And so VAWA exists as another tool in your toolbox as you support women. Y para los que nos están escuchando, si no tienen papeles, si les falta documentación de migración, y no son ciudadanos, no importa si están escuchando y son mujeres, no importa si no tienen papeles, porque hay una póliza de inmigración aquí en los Estados Unidos que se llama VAWA, VAWA, que apoya a mujeres que son víctimas de violencia, y el tráfico de ser humano es uno de los actos más violentos que existen en este planeta contra otro ser humano. Y no están solas, pueden ir a las autoridades, a la policía, y pedir por apoyo detrás de VAWA, y de ahí decir qué es lo que les pasó, y tienen protección contra la deportación, pero también tienen el caso legal para luchar contra la persona que le estaba causando daño. Y eso es en caso de violencia doméstica y también de tráfico de ser humano. No están solos. And for those who are listening, and if you find yourself in a situation, you are not alone. There are options. Find help. PET, P-E-H-T, is present. There are also 1-800 numbers that you can call if you Google. And I'm trying to do that now, but I think our time is up. And with deep, deep sense of gratitude, thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Pet, and all those who volunteer at PET. Mil gracias a todos los voluntarios en PET, y a Kayla y Elizabeth, y a los que nos están escuchando. Hay que cuidarnos, hay que protegernos, hay que educarnos, y esos son los 3 pilares de PET. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.